Alright, so, on our next story, we're gonna go and talk about a movie that seems like now every week I'm pretty much talking about this. And what I have to talk about now is regarding Trolls World Tour. Yes, you may recall last week it officially came out straight to video and maybe a few drive-in theaters as well. But the big thing is the fact that Trolls World Tour decided to go and stand out among the crowd and decide to go and release straight to video on demand directly instead of doing what everyone else is doing and just delay it until theaters can reopen again. And apparently, according to Universal, it's been paying off pretty well. We don't know by how much, but it looks like they're paying off pretty well. In fact, Universal is stating that it has even broken records, where Trolls World Tour actually has the highest opening day and opening weekend release ever for a film released digitally. Now, Universal ain't gonna go and release the numbers just yet. They say that they will soon, but not right now. But to read a little bit from my source here on The Wrap, it states, the film was the highest grossing video-on-demand title ever in terms of revenue, though no specific numbers were provided. The studio did add that the figures were approximately 10 times higher than of Universal's next biggest opening day for a traditional release date. But there is a little bit of evidence that this could legitimately be the case. There is a little bit of proof that maybe Universal is telling the truth on this one. And that is actually coming from many of the other video-on-demand services. In fact, it even say that it even broke the record for the biggest opening weekend ever for Fandango Now. And even said, I believe it was somewhere over here, that even Trolls World Tour was actually the most pre-ordered title of all time on Fandango Now. And on top of that, it has also hit #1 on places like Amazon, Comcast, Apple, Vudu, YouTube, and DirecTV. Now, I did talk about this a little bit last week, if you guys may recall, when I did bring up the subject of Trolls World Tour. Now, I did talk about a little bit as to why specifically Universal wouldn't necessarily go and immediately directly tell us the numbers of how well Trolls World Tour is doing. And honestly, I don't necessarily blame them for not releasing the numbers just yet. Like, immediately making these big claims, but not necessarily providing the proof of it. And that is mainly because of movie theaters. Because, as I've stated many times before, movie theaters are pissed off at Universal for even considering doing this with Trolls World Tour. And the fact that they have done it, well, they're already massively upset. And if they would go and release the numbers, then they would be even more pissed off, because then those numbers would go and have a little bit of a snowball effect, maybe influencing other studios to possibly do the same thing and release their movies onto streaming services instead of just waiting until the theaters would go and reopen. So that's the big thing with what Universal is doing with Trolls World Tour. And honestly, it is pretty much understandable, because Universal still wants to have a good relationship with movie theaters, and they're not going to go and immediately abandon them just yet. They're just going to go and wait a little, they're just going to go and try to experiment with Trolls World Tour, and that's pretty much it. But I do have a little bit of a feeling of when we are going to get those numbers, because they did promise us we will know soon when those numbers are going to be coming out. And it did state here that technically with Trolls World Tour, that technically, like, you can go and buy it for $20 for a 48-hour period, or like you can rent it for $20 for a 48-hour period. And apparently that whole thing is going to be going on for 30 days. And apparently after those 30 days, it's pretty much going to be done. So considering that it has come out on April 10th, then I'm expecting maybe after May 10th, when the whole digital, like when you can no longer go and immediately rent Trolls World Tour, then I got a feeling that after that, that's when we're going to go and know what those numbers are. And that's going to be my feeling on the whole situation. I could be wrong, but I got a feeling it could be that. And honestly, with, you know, like, even without that, like, even if we don't have the numbers, yeah, I do feel like it's definitely, it is absolutely believable, because, like, even after talking about it with plenty of other guests, like, I think I've talked about it with Jim, I talked about it with Saber, I've talked about it with Paleo, and, with all those people, the thing is, like, of course, I mean, we're at the point that since everybody is staying at home, what else are they gonna do? And especially for families, this is a massive deal. This is definitely a much better deal than it is to go and put it out in theaters, where families would have to drive all the way to the movie theater and have to buy a ticket for each person, and then buy the popcorn and the sodas and stuff like that, and then immediately go and watch the movie. It is definitely a much cheaper alternative for the families. Yeah, it's not a good deal for people like me, you know, who just wants to watch, like, you know, I'm not going to be watching this with my family. You know, I'm not just going to, you know, it would sound stupid for me to go and spend $20 just so I could watch Trolls World Tour myself. In fact, like, it would be less expensive for me to go and watch it on the big screen alone. But in this case here, like, for families, it definitely is an incredible deal, and I can definitely see how there were a lot of families that were definitely taking advantage of this, that they were definitely buying this for their kids to go and watch it at home, and really, and plus the fact that it is 48 hours, like, they're not just going to be watching it once, that, like, it would definitely be something that they would go and watch it again and again and again and again for as much as they possibly could. And I have seen online where there have been some families that were definitely enjoying Trolls World Tour, and so far it has been getting more of a positive reception, where, like, even with me, I would say that so far it is better than the second film. I mean, it's not a great animated film. For me, I find it to be just another generic animated kids flick, but then again, it still is better than the original, and the animation is still something to be admired about. And again, I'm crazy, I may sound crazy for saying this, but in terms of the variety of styles that they have presented, this is almost Spider-Verse level of animation. Like, it really is that good. And so far, it is pretty believable, and it's, you know, maybe it's not as surprising as it may seem that it really does make sense for something like Trolls World Tour to actually have a great success when going straight to video on demand during this pandemic. I think Universal really pulled a very smart move by doing so, and I don't think at any other point Trolls World Tour would be as successful as it would already be right now. Like, I've already talked a little bit last week as well, but like, honestly, if it were released on the big screen, like, if it weren't for this, like, if this pandemic did not exist, then I feel like there probably would be a chance that this movie would have flopped. This movie would have been a box office bomb at the box office, because people wouldn't necessarily care. Especially in 2019, we've seen how there have been a lot of franchises that did come back for a sequel and people did not give a crap about. Like, ooh, excuse me. Like, we have seen sequels that flopped hard and didn't even make half as much as the original. Like, we've seen Lego Movie 2 flop, we have seen Angry Birds Movie 2 flop, we have seen Secret Life of Pets 2. Well, that one was not a flop. It was profitable for Universal, but still didn't make half as much as the original, but you get what I mean. I think honestly, under the normal circumstances, this wouldn't be as popular as it is right now. I think honestly, it really did take advantage in a unique case where kids are staying at home because schools are closed down and we are in a pandemic where everyone is staying at home. So, by putting it straight to video on demand, of course families are going to go and take advantage of it and have a very special family night where they could watch Trolls World Tour, or that some parents are just sick and tired of their kids, so they ordered Trolls World Tour just so they can have a kid distractor for the next 48 hours. So it does actually work very well. And yeah, I do, honestly, the fact that they state that it is a major record breaker, then honestly, yeah, I think, honestly, I think that would legitimately be the case. And it wouldn't necessarily need that much, it wouldn't necessarily need that much rentals in order for it to actually be a hit. In fact, to read a little bit more from the rap, it even says, as it is retail price at $19.99, World Tour would have to sell just over 2.3 million rentals this past weekend to match the earnings made by its predecessor's theatrical opening weekend. So it doesn't necessarily need that much in order to go, there's 2.3 million rentals. That doesn't necessarily sound that much compare it doesn't, I know I'm tripping on my own words, I apologize, but what I was trying to say is that it doesn't necessarily need that much rentals for it to become a hit. And I can imagine Universal will definitely turn a profit, and I don't think it'll find another opportunity like this one, but Universal took a risk on a very unique case, and it definitely paid off well. We don't know how much it paid off well, but we know that it certainly did. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you think about Universal's claims about Trolls World Tour being record-breaking? Do you think it's true with what they are saying? Do you think Trolls World Tour definitely is a hit? Do you think it might not be the case? Let me know what you all think. Okay. Those angry theater workers are kind of like those old grandpas who say, back in my day, we didn't have those fancy DVDs or digital downloads. I'm kidding, of course, but that's what they kind of sound like to me. Well, I mean, of course, like, movie theaters right now are just acting like boomers at this point. Anyways, here's a fun fact. On March 12th, my country, Malaysia, did manage to get its hands on the film in theaters for 6 days, but on the 18th, the lockdown happened, and sadly, from that day, my country is unable to get its hands on it again, especially on digital release. Holy crap, then you would definitely be one of the very lucky and one of the very rare people that actually saw this in movie theaters. I don't think many people would actually have the chance to actually go and say that, so be proud of that title, dude. Like, that's a very rare thing to find, like, someone who saw this on the big screen. Holy crap. Anyways, Universal may be playing smart by releasing Trolls World Tour direct to streaming instead of waiting for theaters to reopen, since I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of competition once the theaters reopen. If anything, I don't think Trolls would stood a chance in theaters at the point due to all the film delays. Absolutely, it's just like what I said. I mean, are people that's the thing. If you really think about it, are people really that interested in watching another Trolls movie on the big screen? Not really. But considering that we are in a pandemic and kids are staying in school, are staying home instead of going to school, then it's a pretty unique opportunity that Universal could go and take advantage of. It's at a point where people are pretty much saying, why not? Let's see now. What else do we got here? Man, who knew that the movie that would break the mold in how we watch movies in this day and age would be Trolls? But seriously, I'm glad that DreamWorks found a way to make some dough during this harsh time. As for my thoughts on the movie, it's fine. It's a 7 out of 10. But there are areas where it reeks of missed opportunities. Like, where are the gospel trolls or acapella trolls? Hell, why not have a species of trolls based on the penis music meme? Based on, yeah, oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, look at these things. They already look like penis trolls as it is. I mean, you can already make a freaking phallic symbol out of these things, especially with with their pubes on their heads. But anyways, honestly, like I guess you could, yeah. In a way, it is true that there are definitely like. The concept that they've introduced is so fascinating, but also the fact that it is a Trolls movie, it ends up resulting in a lot of missed opportunities, so I understand where you're going with that one. Let's see now. I definitely do think this paid off very well. However, I do think it's debatable if other movie studios are going to do this as well. But given how we don't know how long this will wait, however, there could be some movies that could go straight to video on demand. New Mutants. Yeah, I think it's inevitable. They gotta do it for New Mutants. They just gotta let it go. I mean, Disney, the thing is troubled as it is. Just let it go. Just give it a release. Put it on Disney Plus. Do it. Put it on Hulu. Just do something with the thing. It's already hurt. It's already damaged. The thing was supposed to come out in frickin' 2017. The thing was supposed to be released long before you had the idea of buying Fox, man. Just let it go, man. Just release it. Oh boy, I'm sorry for that little thing, but you get what I mean. Okay. Anyways, I applaud Universal for making the big bucks for Trolls World Tour. However, I hope digital wouldn't kill theaters. Also, would Universal do the same to DreamWorks' next film, which is Croods 2? Well, I mean, Croods 2 at this point, it has a well, right now the release date is like what? It's like Christmas, right? So like it's too far away to know if something would legitimately happen. I think Universal is just gonna keep it there. I think it's just gonna keep it on the big screen. And some people, oh boy, there's someone here that's making a pretty big prediction. Someone's saying that Connected might be next. I mean, like, that thing is going to be out in September, but then again, you might not be wrong on that one. I wouldn't be surprised if the situation would be that September would end up having too much competition, and Sony might end up really, Sony might have no choice, but if they want to go and salvage Connected, then they would have to save it somehow by putting it somewhere else. Either delay the release date or put it on video on demand. I would, like, oh boy, I could totally be wrong, but the idea of Connected that might be next, it's not it's not as crazy as it sounds. Like, oh boy, that's a pretty big statement, but that could be interesting.